So in the first topic area, the John Wayne Marina, first question is, what, in your opinion, are the workable options the Sequim City Council has regarding the marina? And let's start over there, going from right to left with Mr. Farrell.
The water park's not one of them, I guess. Let's skip that. By the way, I just met Donnie tonight, and for some reason I wasn't invited to the candidate training, so he's obviously learned I'm untrainable. That's okay. Good evening. My name's Tom Farrell. I've lived in Sequim about 3 years, so been on the planning commission for about 1.5 years. When I started hearing about John Wayne situation, my business light went up and say, how can we really develop this, if we develop it in a way that's economically feasible? And you consider the fact that there's some significant capital expenditures expected over the next 10 years, I believe it is. It's going to be actually quite a big cost. So I started thinking a little while, then I calmed down and I said, yeah, it really is what you want, you being Sequim. And some people have said we want it to stay like it is. And then we'll have to figure out how to incur the capital cost, which I think was, correct me if I'm wrong, like 13 million over 10 years or more.
60.
No, I was close. So then we get back to, we don't want to commercialize it, thank you, and have some outrageous place over there, but we do have some opportunity here. And if you were to sit here and ask me what my shopping list was, I would ask you what yours is. I don't really know for sure, but you have a gem out here. And if the city acquires that, we have to really think in ways that keep everybody happy relative to the environment, using the port, the docks, everything, and still look at a way where we can at least break even on this as a city. Now that includes potentials for partners and so on, and investment and so on, with the idea that I have that it will stay public. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tennyson.
Yes. Yes, good evening. Troy Tennyson here, and born and raised in the Sequim area, and looking forward to hopefully joining the council next year. And as far as John Wayne Marina, I thank Donnie for the questions in advance, and as I sat down to prepare for this Sunday, I wrote down some notes, and I was planning just to speak pretty freely on this because it is a subject that I thought quite a while for, but basically I boiled down to my statement within about a paragraph, so I'm going to go ahead and read that, and that's, well, there's an answer. In regards to John Wayne, he's referred to as the Duke. His gift to the citizens in the area, it was meant to be public, and it should remain so. It is obvious that this was his intent. It was and is to be owned and enjoyed by the citizens of this area. To that end, I see only two options. Either the port should keep and administer it, or the city of Sequim needs to take over ownership and management. Anything other than a public agency, meaning the city or the port, owning John Wayne Marina, and it ceases to be public. So there's my take on that question of John Wayne Marina. I think it should be the Port of Port Angeles, and if they choose that they can no longer operate anymore, then it should be the city of Sequim, and from my seat, that's probably the only two options I see.
All right, thank you. Mr. Armacost.
Good evening. It's good to be here. I'm very fortunate to portion my early time.
Energize your mic.
Thank you so much. In my early experience of living in Sequim, I was fortunate to have a boat and have a dock at the marina. I moved here from New York City, so the overwhelming effect of God's creation and nature is pretty hard to beat. However, as a businessman, if I fail to take stock in my trade, I'm headed for a disaster. The unfortunate reality of where we sit today with the marina is we have a lot of deferred maintenance that just was not properly handled in a timely manner, or in a way of preventing the looming $60 million in 10 years to restore it up to its current condition. The good news, we as a city, and the way that it is currently established, it will remain a public entity. Our Shoreline Management Act is designed to protect our needs as a citizen and to provide for the community. I share the same belief with Tom. What an opportunity. If we can find the right partner. And it's interesting, with the shoreline management, we have to remain a nonprofit. That doesn't mean that it can't create income and generate it to maintain those maintenance and things that are needed that are going to come up, because we're in that corrosive saltwater environment. But at the end of the day, you, the citizens of Sequim, the worst case scenario, we're gonna have a beautiful park that's gonna be on the waterfront. One of the joys I have working with the public, I have clients with minimal retirement income, and they enjoy many lunches at the marina. It's a beautiful sanctuary for wildlife as well as the citizens of Sequim. I believe moving forward, we have an opportunity as citizens and as a council to collaborate. How can we get creative? How can we look at retaining the goal that we have in mind of improving it and enhancing it for the future for our grandchildren and those to follow thereafter?
Okay, thank you. Next question. What do you perceive are the risks and the benefits of ceding control of a public asset such as the marina to a private enterprise such as the Jamestown S'Klallam Tribe? And we'll start with Mr. Tennyson.
Yes. I guess I'll refer back to my first statement as kind of a comprehensive statement. I think that the city of Sequim, given that it is the cost, and 60 million is a new number I heard. I thought it was 25 million, but it is a big cost, and from what I know, it's about a 10 to 15 year plan, and there's a big concern over rebuilding some expensive marina stuff. But I think it's nothing that the city of Sequim, with the staff, with a little ingenuity, can't provide for and make sure we're being prudent. But I think basically whatever we need to do to maintain the John Wayne Marina as a public asset, we can do it. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I think the city of Sequim has the talent and the resources to do that alone. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Amercost?
Moving forward, one of the things that I've learned in life is we have to check people's motives. It's awesome when we have an opportunity to have a local partner per se, as Jamestown at one point had expressed a very strong interest. We also have to consider the Wayne family. They own the Upland property, which is a very lucrative piece of real estate that has a tremendous amount of development, but the key there is development, both from a real estate point of view, as well as the opportunity of restaurants and other income producing opportunities. That being said, we need to proceed with caution, because the potential of the overzealous developer may try to overshadow your needs and our concerns with maintaining that Shoreline Management Act, which is keeping that public access. I think the opportunity is great. The first step we need to do, which is obvious from our communication as a city with both the port and the county commissioner, their intention to continue to manage it is not in their wheelhouse. They would very much like to create an opportunity that we, the city of Sequim, which is obviously the most logical, we're here, the marina is our marina per se, your marina, that we should be the one in the driver's seat. Fortunately, we invested $64,000 doing the marina study, so we're very clear on what the future is going to hold. So we have to proceed with diligence. We have to look at every option on the table. Partnering up with another entity, in my opinion, because we as a city have never run a marina, it's imperative we have someone that has that knowledge in that industry to help guide and move us moving forward, so that we can prevent the situation that we're in with all the deferred maintenance.
All right, thank you. Mr. Farrell?
Can you restate the question, please?
Pardon me?
Can you restate?
Oh,
the
absolutely.
question, please?
What do you perceive are the risks and the benefits of ceding control of a public asset such as the marina to a private enterprise such as the Jamestown Sklallam Tribe.
I had to reread that just because of the term ceding control. In many developments throughout the country that I can think of knowledgeably, the public-private relationship does not necessarily mean ceding control. For example, if you had an investor that came in to build a lodge or something that was really attractive and actually turned into a tourist draw, and yet would still leave the public lands open for us to use as we do, I think the ownership issue is it stays within Sequim's ownership. That means you have the ability for long-term leases, just like you'll see at some of the national parks. There's ways to do this if there's an attractive investment package to look at to do this. I know that some of you may worry about ruining the environment out there. And $60 million, I don't want to hear that number. I'd rather go back to my 13 million, which was a month ago. But whatever the number is, I'm not sure anybody knows. But if you're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 million a year for 10 years, that's a lot of money. And you're going to be looking at ways to raise that money, bond issues or whatever. And I think that if you want to maintain the activity that you see down there relative to the docks and everything else, we're gonna have to come up with some money. And so there's gonna have to be some open thinking on that. Doesn't mean you have to turn it into some cold-hearted business place, but you develop perhaps the city council participates in an investment package, public-private relationships, long-term leases, joint development, grants. I'm not a grant fan, but from the state, from whatever, tourist bureau, whatever. There's ways to really look at ways to carve this up. And I think what I'm trying to say is we need to keep an open mind.
Okay, thank you. I am strongly tempted to violate my own rules. And do so by asking a follow-up question. What prompts the follow-up question is that I know several members on the commission, the Port Commission. They're really smart people. And if the John Wayne Marina was a really potentially successful money-making thing, they would hold on to that thing so tightly. But they're giving you this free gift, and there's a huge price tag attached. I want to delve into how you raised money, and or how do you sell that package to taxpayers, both in the city, perhaps the county, and perhaps the state. So if you can briefly address that, I would appreciate it, starting with Mr. Armagoff.
You know, I think you brought up two really great points. One, why are they willing to let go of an asset? But the other reality, they too were privy to the study. And they're very well aware because they've had it in their control for a number of years. I share the same belief that Tom has, that, you know, move out of the small environment of Sequim, and it's not uncommon to establish even 50-year leases for a business venture to actually materialize. When I was living in New York City, a lot of the pre-war buildings, as they converted from residential into what we called cooperative ownership, the only way they could divide that pie up properly, where we're used to condos, is you buy shares based upon the square footage. That same philosophy, the building I lived in the East Village had a 90-year lease. The people that put it together pre-war didn't think the village would take off. Obviously, hindsight was interesting. I owned an apartment that my resale value was dramatically reduced because we were down to the last 20 years. That being said, big money, which is what it's going to take to develop the opportunity to create income, you're going to have thinkers that can think outside that box, that can realize that we, the taxpayer, I think would be a real hard push for me to accept, okay, we're going to have a new tax, we're going to have a bond. That would just not be something my stomach would be comfortable opening it up to people within the marine industry, there's a possibility. The other reality that we have to look at, baby boomers, we love boating. The millennials, half of them don't even own a car. The livelihood of the marina activity is a lot like the golf courses. That era has kind of had its peak, and now we're having a maturing boater that is considering, am I able to do this? And the young boater that's thinking, that's not in my wheelhouse. So we've got a lot of creative options, but I think it's one that we have to tread very carefully so that we're not put in a position that we're backtracking to try to recover.
Thank you. Mr. Farrell?
The first thing that came up when I started hearing the $13 million number was white elephant. No one wants to get stuck with a white elephant. So, and one thing about talking to the public as a person who will probably be on frankly, the city council, because I'm uncontested, which I still don't understand, is, the ability to talk open with people. And one of the openings is maybe we get rid of the boat slips over there. Maybe we get rid of the stuff that's requiring the massive capital improvement or capital change. Just the way it is. And then all of a sudden, maybe there's the fish thing still works on one side of it or whatever. But I think you just have to think out of the box on this, and I totally agree with you. I'm not only reluctant not to accept bond issues, I will absolutely be against that. Absolutely against it. The question that I asked you to repeat talked about the tribe. And it seems that, from my perspective, living here 3 years, I have no history or whatever relative to what's occurred there. But if they're an investment partner and they don't assume ownership, that might be an excellent source. There, I said it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tennyson?
Yes, I think that where there's a will, there's a way. As far as the cost, like I said, the 60 million is a newer number, but I believe that the City of Sequim operating annual budget is about $32 million a year. And my thought is that as far as the city, and this is something that other councilors and the public, I'd be looking to hear feedback. But for me, the John Wayne Marina, it's a very valuable asset, and I'd be willing to spend more money on things I really want and care about, and maybe less money on other projects that maybe to me and maybe to other people aren't as important. And that would require taking a look both at the marina, the cost requirements, and our own in-house budget already, where we could start pooling our money and saving money to pay for the future costs. I mean, you're talking over a decade down the road for those big costs that I think, I've talked with Connie Bove, Port Commissioner, and I think that, that everyone's looking at that big scary number down the way, and I think it is good and prudent, like William has commented, to not go into something blindly. But for things like the marina, which I care about, and I think the citizens care about, because it's not just a park, it's heavily utilized as a boat launch for fishermen, commercial and recreational. And then you have the sailboats and the permanent moorage. So you have quite a bit going on. Oh, and then you have the restaurant there. And I think, there is I think it's doable, and that would require other people to think like I am, is like, it's a valuable resource, we should manage it. And the other thing too, I was thinking about just as we were talking is, I've heard Wayne Enterprises. I'd be interested to talk with them directly and see where they're coming from, see where their heart is in the matter. If they have a heart to honor John Wayne's wishes, then that is who I'd be willing to be like, hey, well, maybe that is someone who I'd be looking to partner with. But like I said, the heart is obviously still City of Sequim public, and if that is John Wayne, the Wayne Enterprises wishes as well, then I'd be interested in talking with them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to workforce housing.